Welcome to the Human Frame podcast.
With me, Łucja.
Today I'm joined by Holly Renaut.
Holly is a professional actor, dialect and accent coach, director and writer based in Madrid, woman of many talents. She's worked with thousands of actors all over the world, from those just starting out to Oscar nominees, coaching their auditions, roles and working on set. Holly has lived and performed on stage and screen in 6 different countries, as well as trained with some of the top professionals in the world of classical theatre and voice. She writes, adapts and translates scripts, directs, performs voiceover and dubbing, and she collaborates largely with her partner Iago at Compass Arts, where they run online programs and communities, acting retreats and more, which are absolutely fabulous and I am absolutely obsessed with. I'm doing 2 with you, and I'll be back for many more.
Such a nice intro.
Knowing you for such a long time, it's quite easy to come up with something. Yeah, so let's just get into it from the beginning. I mean, I know loads about you anyway, but from looking more into the AI industry as well and how it is affecting actors, especially your work as well, it'd be great to get a sense of your thoughts about it. So when did you first become aware of AI in the acting industry, whether it's deepfakes or dubbing or anything like that?
I think not so much in the acting industry necessarily, but I do remember when I started like on social media hearing the AI voices on videos. And the first time I heard them, I was like, this is really badly edited. Like there's no breath. And then listening to their intonation and stuff, I was like, oh, I don't think this is a person. And that was probably a few years ago. And then in the industry, so far, it's been mainly like very present for me personally in the voice world, more so than on camera. I'll come back to that in a second. But in the voice world, basically, I used to do a lot of kind of corporate voice work for companies, internal videos, industrials, a lot of people call them, or corporate jobs. Those are where I've noticed a massive decrease. Like I used to do maybe, I'd say probably 8 to 11, 12 voice jobs a month. And now I do maybe 1 or 2 every 2 months because those kind of corporate, more, like business related voice jobs are largely going to AI now.
And is that because they're a lot cheaper to use or they're easier
Much
to manipulate?
cheaper. I think it's a combination of the 2 things. So for one, in the corporate world, those kinds of jobs, they're really looking for things to be done very quickly. They often have to get approval from numerous people. And so it's very expensive if you have someone going into the studio and recording, and then that video or that voice over is seen by someone else in another department and they want to change a line. Then they have to bring you back into the studio. It's an extra expense. It's more time. It's more money. Whereas if they use AI voices, they just go in, rewrite the sentence, and it's immediately done at no cost. And it takes about 5 minutes. So in terms of efficiency, it's quite good. I can see why they do it. And I think a lot of people, because of social media, are very used to hearing those kinds of voices, and they kind of maybe don't love them, but they can just sort of ignore the things that are a little bit not quite human about them. But I will say, it's not that they've completely disappeared. I've spoken with a couple of companies and brands that I've worked for a long time who continue to hire me. And they basically said that from the inside from where they're at, hiring real people is now becoming a sign of like prestige. That it's like a level up of like, okay, we're not just going to use this very easy tool. We're going to hire a real person. It's prestigious and it's exclusive because you don't have a voice that's being used by 500 other companies from an AI voice bank. So it hasn't completely disappeared in terms of the work, but it's definitely changed a whole lot. And then on camera, I'm just much more aware now of looking for it in the contracts, having a clause added to a contract or requesting that something be added to your contract that you do not authorize the production company to use your likeness for the purposes of AI training is really important. But in terms of the work itself, I haven't yet noticed a big change from an acting point of view.
And has there been cases, I don't know whether you've been aware of this, but I know there's been cases in Hollywood, for example, where people's faces or likeness or voice has been replicated, for example, like Scarlett Johansson and a lot of all of those where their voices have been used for things without their consent. I think they ended up winning the cases, but whether you've been in situations where that's been a part of the contract that you had to kind of remove yourself from.
Yeah, to my knowledge, none of it has been used, but there have been 2 cases where it's come up. One, it was written into the contract, so everyone needs to read their contracts very carefully, and I had it removed. And then I have been contacted by a lot of companies asking to use it. In my immediate circle, I don't know anyone who's, had it directly be used, but I know it's happening to big stars, especially with the like deepfake thing as well, that I find a little bit frightening that someone could take your image and use it to sell something or promote a political message or anything at all.
Yeah.
And it's getting better and better.
And it's happened quite a lot, especially I know through like different, through the women's rights perspective that I've worked on. It's more like, images and being used as videos and stuff that you don't want to consent to as well. So that's another, but obviously that's racist. I mean, it's kind of linked to acting in a way because your face could be put on anything and then used for a film or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I suppose I don't really know enough about how it works. Like the question that I always have is like, okay, so it's in my contract, but like what's to stop someone doing it and I just don't ever see it or know about it? Like, I don't know. I always have that little thought of like, yeah, it's in the contract, but if anyone can like download a video or something from YouTube and use it, I'm not sure how effective it is. But yeah, I guess I'm not like a big name that someone would want to fake or imitate.
I mean, you never know, to be honest, with nowadays, but I want to get
Yeah.
more into a sense of what first also drew you into acting and how your journey as a performer also began.
That's a long question. I don't actually remember, like, I don't have, some people have really interesting stories of like, there was this one play or this one. I don't think I had that. I started dancing first and I loved that. And then I wanted to be a singer. So I got really into singing, made a demo, very embarrassingly sent it to Justin Timberlake's mom.
Did she reply?
No, there was like a period of time when NSYNC was really big that I think she was trying to piggyback on that, and she tried to start a record label called Just in Time Entertainment. See what she did there? So I was like, well, this is going to happen. I will record a demo, be signed by Justin Timberlake's mother, marry him, life done. That didn't happen. And then, yeah, and then I got more into theater. When I was in high school, I started acting professionally, and then that carried on through university. I had no intention of becoming an actor when I started university. I majored initially I wanted to do like microbiology and genetics, and then archaeology, and then I realized the whole time I was like, as long as I can still act. And then I just wanted to act. So I realized, actually, if that's what I want to be doing the whole time, I should do that. So I did that. And then after I graduated university, my family's from London, so I moved back to London, gave it a go there, had a little bit of success, not a whole lot, and then basically just jumped around for a while. I lived and taught in Hong Kong at a drama school, and then came back to Canada, did a tour of a show, did some training in the US, did some work in the US, then moved to Ireland, did some work in Ireland, and in Ireland I started more on my kind of film and TV path. That's where I started getting work more in front of the camera instead of on stage. And then as happens to many actors, I sort of hit a wall and went, I'm done with this forever. And 3 weeks later, I was living in Spain. And then about a year after that, I was fully back in the industry because I missed it. And I've been in Spain a decade now, just more over 10 years. And so here I have done some theater, but I've done a lot more film and TV, a whole lot of voice work, and a whole lot of coaching as well. So yeah, that's basically
Yeah,
it.
because a lot of your stuff's based on, I mean, even the stuff that I've done with you is more like voice stuff, accents especially. I think I never thought I could do accents until I met you, basically. I realized it was all about where you place
Yeah.
your tongue and how you use your mouth and the understanding of where different regions use their tongues and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I just want to know more about how you discovered that and what kind of led you to, yeah, be drawn to accent work and voice work in general.
Well, I've been doing it for as long as I've been acting, basically. So I started coaching accents because I was doing a play and everyone in the play had to have an Australian accent. And basically, and this was in Canada, and Australian is a quite difficult accent. So they were from all over the place. There were some people that sounded Irish, others, I mean, it was all over the board. And the director brought in a friend of his who was Australian to come and watch a run of the show, one of the rehearsals. And at the end of that, she was supposed to, give people kind of notes, or at least let them know if they were anywhere near Australia. And so she was going through everyone, giving them notes. And then she got to me and basically just said, oh, where are you from? Like, which part of Australia are you from? And I was like, no, like, I'm from here. And so the director sort of went, oh, can you help everyone else with their accent? And of course I was like, yeah, of course. Then I went home and I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. So I started just investigating accents and had to figure out anatomically and just in my own mouth, really, if I'm saying like no, what am I doing to make it sound like no and not like no? What's the difference? And it took a lot of work and probably far too many hours in front of a mirror just trying to work out how my mouth works. And then that led me to study a lot of just vocal anatomy. I then, very long story short, basically taught part of the accent portion of our voice training in university. And then in the UK, I studied with Patsy Rodenberg briefly at Guildhall. Did a bit of work at this big Shakespeare conference that the Royal Shakespeare Company holds. So I worked with Cicely Berry there. And then I trained with Kristen Linklater in Scotland many years later. And in between that, I just worked with, thousands, possibly now in the tens of thousands of people from all different language backgrounds and all walks of life, some actors, some not, to figure out really anatomically and also kind of neurologically. I read a lot of neuroscience, neurolinguistics about what happens in, the brain-mouth connection, how your listening actually affects your accent, how accurately or not we actually hear sound. So I just sort of came at it from a bunch of different ways, which I think is what makes the way that I work a little bit different, because I didn't sort of go through a voice MA. I kind of just worked it out on my own for the past, how old am I? 23 years? Yeah.
In terms of, obviously the amount of people that you have coached with different accents, what are some of the mistakes that people make when trying to do an accent, do you think? Or what have you noticed?
100%. The biggest mistake people make is they think of it as a listening activity, and it's not at all. So that would be like, some people can do this, but most people I know, if they're trying to change their accent, actors or otherwise, they listen to someone speak and then they think that they can magically hear a sound and then their mouth is going to make that sound. And that would be like listening to someone play Beethoven, and then you sit down and you're like, I have a piano too.
Yeah.
That'll be the same. I've heard it. My fingers will figure it out. and they won't. So the biggest mistake that people make is that they don't, it's much more like going to the gym or learning to play an instrument. You have to really, first of all, be very aware of what your mouth does naturally, and then pay a lot of attention to the movements more than the sounds. If you just pay attention to the sounds, it gives you no information on a practical level of how you can actually make those sounds. The sounds come as a result of the movement, so it's muscular. And that's by far the biggest mistake people make, is they focus on like listening and trying to repeat magically as if their mouth is just going to make that sound, you know.
Yeah, and I guess also from like doing a lot of work with you, it's also like your whole body's involved as well through, doing movement and the positive energy that you kind of give to your body and taking away tension. How does that impact your voice in more detail?
So basically your voice is, a lot of people think of their voice just as their voice box. They sort of have it focused on, this thing that happens somewhat below your nose up until, below your voice box in your throat. And that's it. And actually it's a full body activity. Anywhere you have muscular tension, it's going to affect your voice and it's going to affect your resonance. So if you think really on a basic, this is not anatomically detailed in any way, but if you think about how your voice works, you have a desire to communicate something or say something. Your body then takes enough air for you to get that message across. And then that air travels up through your whole system up, and then it vibrates in your voice box, and then is articulated by your mouth muscles. And what tends to happen to basically everyone on the planet is we get taught what is societally acceptable, both in terms of what we say and the way we say it and the volume at which we speak. And that process gets interrupted by all of these little moments of tension as we censor ourselves and maybe want to scream, "No, I don't want to." And then we have to actually just say, "Oh, no, thank you." And so the whole system gets impacted by all of these little moments of tension where we want to communicate something and the rules around us dictate that we can't communicate it exactly in the way that we would if we were just, living with the gorillas and had no rules. So all of that system works in our favor and also can work a little bit against our objectives as actors, especially, or for anyone who does any kind of public speaking. Our bodies will sort of engage muscles and tensions thinking that they're protecting us, and what they're actually do is making it so that we sort of get nervous and then sound like that. And our voice kind of squeezes out. So part of the work when you're working with voice and accents is to be very aware of where that tension is held and kind of release some of it, just to open up the instrument, open up your whole system so that your voice comes out as naturally and openly as it did, when you're a baby. Babies make very big noises with no effort. They don't have to learn how to project. Your body knows how to do it. And we sort of want to go back to that state. So it's not adding a skill on, it's more like peeling off layers of things that have impacted us.
Stripping everything back, right? And it's just funny, like even a few months ago now, when we were doing the mouth massages, let's call them, with like where and different people store different amounts of tension. Whether it's, for me, it's right in my cheek here, or whether some of my friends, it was their tongues and all that kind of stuff. And it's really interesting to see how that's reflected in the performance, because obviously the camera, or when you're on stage, it picks all of that up. And in some cases, it can be really useful for a character because that could be their blockage, and that is where they store the tension. But how do you think you can kind of move that for a specific character? So say, Luke, you do have a bit of tension there. Is it possible to then move it to different places to then shape the character in the performance?
Yeah, 100%. I think the goal is not to get rid of it permanently. It's simply to be made really aware of what your body's habit is and how it stores things, and if you're frustrated, where does it kind of get held in you? So that if that isn't necessarily going to be the same as the character, you can learn how to release it. It doesn't have to be a really physical thing. It can just be an awareness of, oh, I'm getting really tense here. Let's relax my jaw, or I'm not breathing. Let's breathe. All of the tools are just so that you can be made very aware, both so that you can get rid of it if it's not serving you, and also so that you can add it if you need it. It does a whole lot. You see, especially men employ this all the time. If they want to look angry or strong or like they're frustrated, they clench their jaw. That happens very naturally, and you see it a lot on camera. You also see people using their tongue. If you kind of tense your tongue, it shows in your neck, and that looks like they're wanting to say something that they're not saying. So you can learn to make it happen on purpose. The goal is to be aware of what happens in you, not being conscious that it's happening, so that then if you want it to happen, it can, and if you don't, it doesn't automatically. I don't know if that's answered your question.
No, it does. It does. And I think also
Tricky thing to describe.
yeah, I think also what plays with that, and I think you and Yargos speak about this so much, is breath. Because again, as actors, like, the first thing that you forget to do the simplest things, right? When you're thinking about all of that and you're remembering it all, although your line should be in you anyway. So why is breath so important, and how can you then control and manipulate it for different things? Like in the short film that we just did, which was so much fun, but you would at certain moments told us all to hold our breath for the scene because it was going to show on camera and give that more tension.
Yeah. So it's basically being aware. Again, it always comes back to what we do naturally, and starting to build an awareness of things that happen physically automatically, and whether or not we in fact need them to happen. So I'll talk about this with a story because I think it's better, it'll be clearer. So I used to, when I started acting, I always held my breath before I spoke, and I always exhaled a little bit before I started getting the words out. So I would think of the line, breathe it in, hold it, and then start talking. And I would breathe before I said anything. And the thing that was happening is I was trying to breathe, kind of in quotes, properly, because a lot of voice teachers and a lot of people in general focus on, filling your body with air and take these really big deep breaths. And that is useful, but it's only useful in order to get rid of the blocks. Because the reason I started holding my breath and then letting some of it out is I realized that actually our bodies know how much air. If you're just speaking in a normal situation, you don't try to take a huge breath and then talk. It doesn't work. So the taking huge breaths and filling is to build your capacity for speaking. It's great if you're working in theater. It's completely valuable to do that. But then the step that I think a lot of people kind of miss, or they just don't realize, is that isn't the goal always when you're performing. It's not the aim to take these really big, deep breaths, because what we actually do in our lives is take, if we have an impulse to say something, that impulse sends all the signals to our breath and our lungs, and, we take in exactly as much air as we need to communicate that true impulse. So what happens when we breathe, and what happened to me, is I was having the impulse, I had my line, I knew what I wanted to communicate, and instead of trusting that my body was going to take care of it and just take in the amount of air that it needed, knowing that I had built up my capacity, so if it did need a lot of air, I had the space for it. Instead of doing that, I was forcing it to take a huge breath that I didn't need. I was building all this tension up at the top, and my body knew that I didn't need that much air, so I was exhaling some of it because it was too much. So it was basically this sort of discovery that the breath work is there so that you can have many more options. so that if you need a tiny bit of air, you know that you can rely on your body to take that tiny bit of air and have it be free and open and express what you need. If you need a whole lot of air, to be able to take a whole lot of air and have a big screaming, death scream or whatever you need to do on stage. Or to be aware of what your breath is doing as you're feeling different things, and to be observant of what other people's breath is doing. So we naturally mirror each other. If you're in an audience and somebody's nervous on stage, you will feel it. So I always tell people, if you're watching somebody really live, it has to be kind of right in front of you. Notice how your breathing changes, because we're going to subconsciously kind of mirror whatever they're doing. So if you want someone to be nervous, take really shallow breaths, and that's the effect you'll have on your audience. If you want someone to be really calm, take very big breaths. If you want someone to feel suspense, hold your breath, which is what we did in the film.
Yeah.
So if everyone is holding their breath, there's just a change in the energy, and the audience will feel that even through a camera. So it's not about, it's learning how to open up everything so that you have an awareness and a control over what you're doing, so that it doesn't dictate your performance, but your performance dictates how your body is being used, so that it can express whatever you want to express with your impulse.
Because ultimately you want to be able to affect the audience, and that is what makes a really great performance, is making them feel something rather than just watching something that makes you feel absolutely nothing, which is what a lot of AI content does do. So I'm gonna go back
into
the AI stuff. But obviously, in terms of AI, as we mentioned, it's so much easier because AI doesn't need to do all the stuff that we naturally as humans need to train and get rid of, because you can just type it, it's programmed to do.
AI doesn't breathe.
Exactly. So in that kind of sense, do you think there are any useful parts of AI that actors can implement into training, or I don't know, within, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer for this, or what I think myself. But obviously AI is being used in the world, and we're not going to get rid of it. So is there a way that you personally think that we can use it to our advantage?
As actors, I think it can be an interesting activity. I'm thinking off the top of my head, if I was kind of learning about acting, I would be really interested in, and I might do this, watching these like AI, I think we're not quite at the point where they're completely indistinguishable from real people. There are things that happen in AI videos where there are movements that are slightly off, or something about it is slightly just not quite right. I'd be really curious to watch some of those performances and see if I could identify what precisely was happening that made it feel off. So from a learning standpoint, I think that would be something that's interesting. And then I think for actors, we're just not quite at the point yet where AI can deliver as believable a performance as a person. I don't know if we'll ever get there.
I hope not, because we'll be out of jobs.
Well, you know what? I think this is a slight detour, but I see a lot of people very excited about what they can create using AI, but I've never heard anyone in any interview, podcast, friends, nobody is talking about being excited to consume things that are made by AI. So I think what it's kind of doing in the world of acting is, and I would be worried if there are a lot of jobs that are more behind the camera that I would be very concerned about. Animation and effects, and I mean, what AI can do is blowing people out of it's crazy what you can achieve in a short time with AI in the kind of effects, lighting, changing lighting in places. As actors, there's a whole, I can't remember which one it is, but there was a whole editing AI software where you could just make a video and it would add in the background and the effects, and you basically just describe it and it can make it, which as an actor is very exciting because the performance is your own.
And I guess you can make more of your own stuff because obviously with actors that
Yeah.
want to create as well, like whether it's short films
Yeah.
or whatever skits, it's, the budgeting is always the biggest issue
Yeah.
with
It
anywhere in the
costs
industry.
so much money. So I think for actors creatively, if they're still going to be acting, they might have more of the effects available to them through AI than they would have had before. But in terms of the actual work itself, I haven't seen too big of an impact for actors. For other things in social media and speakers and kind of like informative educational content, that kind of stuff, yes, I've seen it used. Background acting, for sure. Crowds of people and stuff made with AI. But I have sort of a divided opinion on it. When I saw the Google, what's it called? I don't know the names of any of these things. The Google video thing where all the videos were going around, and I completely freaked out. I was convinced our jobs were over,
Oh God.
where they were all made by AI, and they had I can't remember what it's called, Google's AI video thing. And I was like, well, that's it for us. And actually, people kind of enjoyed playing with it, but I haven't spoken to any like film producers who are like, oh, we're going to make it using AI, because actually nobody wants to watch that. It's
Because
fun
you
for
can make
like
it
two
yourself,
minutes.
right?
Yeah, it's fun for, your 60 seconds on TikTok. But to sell tickets and have people go to the cinema or spend their evening watching something that people didn't really have a hand in making, I don't know anyone who really yet believes that that's going to happen.
Because I guess
So,
what I'm also hoping is going to be the difference between, art and the creatives versus just content that you consume to keep us entertained and doom scrolling on, on social media. But I'm just
yeah,
also wondering because obviously AI and ChatGPT and all these different ones are really being used in the writing process as well. So I don't know whether you've seen more of that being used as well or how you think that's going to progress. Because obviously, I mean, even going through something with you the other day, we could obviously see that AI's way of writing is quite crap, to be honest. There's no
yeah,
better way of putting it.
yeah. So I have seen quite a few scripts that have been written with AI, and I think it's very tricky because I can very much see both sides of it. So when it comes to writing, I think there are two very different ways of thinking about it. One is that AI shouldn't be writing anything at all. If it's taking directly from all of these writers, it shouldn't be coming up with stuff from scratch. Which, okay. The other thing that a lot of people are saying is that it's as a tool, if you are writing something, it can be quite good if you get stuck. It sort of can serve as like an editor, where I know a lot of screenwriters who they'll write this scene and they'll tell it, I need to condense this right now. It's, 2 minutes and 20 seconds long. It needs to be 2 minutes and 5 seconds max. And it will come up with different options of sort of condensing the material or wording things a slightly different way, or but you still have to have some skill in order to get it to do that. You still need to know what you're aiming for. So while I don't think it should be used of just like write me a movie, I also I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, I guess, because I also think it can be really useful. And the fact that it's taking, information from all of the work that already exists, yeah, the same way that everyone who's ever read a book and liked it learns from it, learns from the writing. People, we go to university and study the work of other writers and study what they do in order to incorporate some of those things into our work and take what works and experiment ourselves. So I also disagree when people say it absolutely shouldn't be used at all, it's stealing. And it's like, well, did you read a book by your favorite author and then write and some of the things resemble that? Of course they do. That's because you've been inspired, and we all borrow and use what works from each other. So I think right now, like a lot of things in this industry and the world, things are going a little bit to the extremes of it's the best thing that's ever happened to us. It's the worst thing we need to use it for everything. We should use it for nothing. I think it can be a really helpful tool, but I don't think it is at the level yet where it's completely replacing writers or screenwriters or playwrights.
Do you think there's any way it might at some point possibly maybe take away from freedom of expression in the industry? Or, AI will become they're using all these different people, that represent different groups, right? So do you think that's going to become a problem? I feel like there's so many questions that we have and we don't know about it, but I guess it's just predicting the future.
The thing that I don't know, freedom of expression in what way?
Creatively. So if a writer writes something, right, and they want to portray a specific thing, but maybe they're focusing more on this kind of stuff that AI is focusing on, which might be completely different because they want to shift the narrative in a specific way. Or I guess it could be also casting, because will there be a place where individuals are replaced with AI actors, and therefore maybe there is more representation and diversity, but is it really diversity because those individuals aren't actually
they're not real people.
Yeah. Exactly.
Diversity between how many actors are real humans and how many are. I don't know. It's very hard to answer because I think we just don't know yet. The thing that I am concerned about is the fact that I don't know how it works. It's very easy to type something in and then just get an AI response that's condensed from all of these different places online into one short little paragraph, rather than us as people having to be quite discerning and reading through a lot of information to get to the point. So I think that's what I would be more concerned about. This is very basic and probably completely irrelevant, but it's like if you look up and say the sky is blue, and then 5 other people conspire against you and say, no, it's definitely green, it's definitely green, it's definitely green. And then AI goes in and takes the majority, and then you ask it what color is the sky, and it's 5 against 1, and it says it's green. It's definitely not. There are these little things, and that is based on no reality because I don't understand how AI works. But based on even little things like the algorithms on social media, and whatever you get more of. And, it knows what you click on, so it feeds you more of that and more extreme. I don't know that it's particularly good that AI is filtering and condensing and summarizing all of the information and just providing us with like a little tiny glimpse of it. So does that have any impact on the industry? I'm sure it will. I'm not sure how yet. I will say I have used it. I mean, it's very convenient. If I'm working on a period project right now that takes place in the 40s, and it has saved me a lot of time, of asking things, did they say this word in the 40s, and what did it mean? And, all that kind of stuff. It's been a wonderful tool. Immediately trust it? Sometimes, yeah. And then I go, oh, should I be trusting this right away? Let's double check against some other sources. So when it comes to, I don't know, freedom of expression or diversity in casting, or even just getting information about different groups of people, I think we have to be quite suspicious if it's just based on all of the content that all of the humans have made available online.
Yeah, because I mean, I've tested it out sometimes just to see specific things, and sometimes it does give you more information that you maybe would have not known, but sometimes it doesn't, and it's like you have to tell, obviously it learns from you, right? But you have to say specifically, well, no, this is wrong, why are you saying this? It's actually this. And so like it says, if it's not on the internet, it doesn't know, which a lot of this stuff, when it comes from more diverse and marginalized groups as well, it's not on the internet because
it's not necessarily all there. Yeah. Or it's there, but in someone else's words, explained from a perspective that isn't that of someone inside the group. It's an in-group, out-group situation. So if you're studying a culture and you're writing about that culture, the way that you describe it is not going to be the same as you would if you were in that group. So I think there are a lot of things that I have a lot more questions than answers, you know?
Yeah, I think we all
And
do.
I think most of us do, but I do definitely use it. You know, I think there are a lot of really good things about AI. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. A lot of people's jobs are going to change. I did experiments with it myself regarding accents because they now have these AI things where, I don't know if you've seen this, you can record, like, a lot of podcasts are having this AI program put them into different languages
Oh, wow.
in the original voice. So it sounds like the real people. It's not like a dubbed version by somebody else. It's those people coming out in their voice with their mannerisms and their kind of vocal gestures and, you know, but speaking in a different language.
But that's scary to me, I feel like, because it's, you could be, how do you know what you're saying is exactly what you said as well if you don't speak that language?
That's the thing. So there's a podcast called Armchair Expert. That's a very big one. And I listened to the Armchair Expert versions. They did these experiments with this AI who was translating them into Spanish. And they were discussing it. And what they were saying is that it didn't replace the jobs. It just changed what the jobs were. Because instead of hiring two people to dub their show into Spanish and someone to translate it, it condensed it into AI plus one person. So it turned three jobs into one job, which were the AI, you know, filtered and translated and did all the thing and analyzed the voices, produced the audio in this other language, but they still need to pay someone who speaks Spanish to revise everything and listen and make sure that it's all perfect.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And they have to go in and adjust things, and the AI produces another voice. So it doesn't, so far, it hasn't completely eliminated all jobs. There still have to be people involved. But again, that's an area where I'm like, okay, so how long is it until they can just take your image and make your voice come out in a different accent? I might be one of the people in that way that's out of a job. And actors, that might be a skill that isn't needed anymore. But it hasn't happened yet. And I've been doing experiments with, even just on ChatGPT, of putting in, like, I spoke to someone who said they were using AI to get word lists to practice certain sounds. And I was like, I'm not sure I trust that. So I went in and asked it to provide, 20 words that included this specific sound. And it was awful. Of the 20
really?
words, 8 of them had the sound and 12 were wrong. And they had the letter, but they had the letter that didn't make that sound in that context because English is such a mess when it comes to spelling and sound. And it was way off. And I kind of thought, okay, it doesn't do everything better than humans yet.
Well, especially when it comes to when you want to perfect an accent. And a lot of the times, again, time is money on sets as well. So when you can get someone that can do it naturally, you don't need to edit it, any of that. That's why I think there's still some hope in that kind of sense of, the actors still needing to cultivate and nurture the skills because they're still going to be really relevant if, you can do it and it's going to save money, then they're going to go with the thing that saves money, right?
Yeah. And I think people still I was very surprised and pleasantly. So a few months ago, I was hired by a video game to voice a character. And I got to the studio and I was doing all these things and it sort of wasn't quite what they were looking for. And then eventually they said, look, basically we want you to do an AI voice. And I was like, okay, great. Why did you hire a person to do an AI voice out of curiosity? And they said, well, because we can direct you and AI can't be directed in the same way. And it still sounds better if it's a real person than if it's AI. So I was
And AI voices are quite fun to mimic.
Yeah. And they wanted it to sound very stereotypically AI, but they wanted to be able to adjust these little things that they tried it with the AI and it just wasn't able to give them the performance that they wanted. It was a believable AI voice, obviously. It was authentically AI, but it wasn't able to be directed, not to the same extent as a human.
But it's interesting how companies like that want to use actors to do an AI voice, whereas a lot of companies use AI to sound human.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's quite interesting. But I guess it's also what people want out of the performance as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's sort of an interesting conversation in the film world happening as well right now of people who are likening it to sort of the more indie artistic, you care about the craft compared to commercial Hollywood, you want to make a lot of money,
And churning things out.
blockbuster. Yeah. And there are quite a few people who were talking about it in those terms. Like it's going to be just the real people, human made um, things. But even then, nothing's really
Imagine
quite
that
human
going to
made. We use
cinemas.
digital effects for everything, but that it will kind of become like a different genre, the same as, animated movies or Pixar, sort of the
That'd
3D
be-
animation. It's kind of its own genre, that it might be there are AI film festivals. It
Which
could be
makes it
a genre.
a lot more less scary, I guess, because like when it all kind of came out, it was. I remember I was still at drama school, and we all kind of were like, "Crap! Like, are we gonna
Yeah,
be able to get?" Because obviously the industry went in a bit of a dip at that time. But I
yeah.
think what you said gives a lot more hope in terms of there being a bit more jobs and it not being a bit of a doom day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and a lot of people are also saying like live performance can't be done by AI. So it might sort of give a little bit of a boost and a resurgence in live theater and, things that aren't new sort of art forms that we maybe haven't yet conceived of even might pop up as a result.
So, what final message would you give to actors, especially listening, who, might be feeling a bit scared about what AI is doing and what can they keep doing to stay motivated?
I would say that first of all, you're not alone. I completely freaked out about it. But knowledge is power and skills are still skills and talent can't be taken away. So I would say the world hasn't collapsed yet. The industry is still there. They're still auditioning real people. Everything is still moving on as it was. Be very careful about contracts. Always check those and continue to try being the most human version of anyone you're playing that you can. So I think we need to try and not compete with it and not see it as a thing of it's humans versus the machine. But rather just say, okay, some people are going to choose to use that because that tool works very well for them. They need a hammer. I'm a screwdriver. I'll be the best damn screwdriver I can be, and someone will want that screwdriver. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be this big competition. And I also think investigating on just what the different options are out there, it's gone so past what I feel like I can't keep track of all of the AI options and tools that there are. So I think there is a little bit of knowledge is power of knowing, and it's what I plan on doing, working on my skills and my craft and what I do, but also getting a little bit more knowledgeable about what's possible, what's out there, how people are using it, just so I can keep an eye out for it. And also, frankly, like if everyone's using something and it works really well and it's not taking away from what you do, use it. It doesn't mean you have to use it for everything, but it's not going anywhere. So don't be left behind, refusing and boycotting everything. I mean, a lot of people are comparing it to this thing of, when cars and what were all the carriage drivers going to do. And
Yeah. Well, to be
They're
fair,
not.
yeah, because throughout history that's happened and
It's
people still
happened
have
again
jobs.
and again and again, and it's going to be a massive shift in society. It already is, and there are pros and cons. And I think the more as performers and as people in the arts, we just have to get even deeper into what is human, because it still
Yeah.
hasn't touched us
Which
in that
counts all of the
way.
stuff we were talking about, the breathing, the
Mhm.
making sure how you use your body, all that kind of stuff that AI can't, and maybe hopefully will
Yeah.
never be able to do as well as humans themselves do. So
Yeah.
I think,
And following a train of thought, we're very chaotic. Our brains are not neatly organized systems. And what makes performances and dialogue and anything that we're talking about, particularly with the industry, what makes us interesting is that we do bounce around and it doesn't always make complete sense. And AI hasn't touched that yet. It gives a very basic interpretation of something. That's why they hired me to do an AI voice, because there are levels of subtlety and connection and, surprise that can only come from human inspiration and not from a prompt.
yeah, so keep doing everything and sign up to your courses as well because your accent courses are amazing. Going
Yes,
through absolutely
thank
everything. And like I
you.
said, has made me do accents I never thought I could.
And it's very fun.
It
Accents
is.
don't, I mean, they're very boring if you're just trying to listen and repeat. That's as dull as you can. I mean, I wouldn't do that. It's
But
not
also,
how I would spend my time.
it's all about, embedding yourself in the character as well. I think a lot of the time an accent makes the character, whether it's your own accent, but just the way you
Yeah.
speak a bit, but the pacing, all of those wonderful things that you go really in depth on that have been absolutely incredible in terms of shaping characters that I've worked on personally anyway.
Yeah, you can't disconnect the way someone talks from the character. That's another big mistake. Going back to your other question ages ago. You can't work on the accent and then work on the character and expect it to magically all come together. Uh,
And that's what it is. It's all kind of this unison, this kind of journey that you go down as studying character, which again, I don't think AI does that. It doesn't go on that journey, which makes it more of a believable performance.
yeah, and it just isn't as enjoyable. I think there's something in us, both as creators and humans and also audience members, that whether or not you're consciously thinking about it, you do value the time and the effort and the creativity and the experience and, the professionalism behind a performance that you're seeing or a talk that you're watching. Or there is, I would say to everyone that it is really interesting, even in yourself, if you're watching videos that you know are made by AI, notice how you feel when you're watching them and how your breath changes and how your posture shifts and how what kind of thoughts come into your head. I know for me, a lot of the time I'll sort of see something and think it's a little bit interesting and I'll go, oh, it's AI, and I swipe to the next thing. And I don't think I'm the only one that has that response. So there's something in us all that wants to see real people doing things. And I think it's a little bit like electronic music became really, really popular and you didn't need musicians, and the pendulum is swinging back the other way. You can tell by the concert culture, the festivals, the type of music that's kind of coming back around. People are going back to more of like an 80s vibe, 90s live music. People are tired of, auto tune. I think the same thing. It's no different with AI. I think people will find a balance and use it as a tool to help as opposed to take over.
Because people are incredible. That's why there's so much variation and story and things that shape us. And that is ultimately the most interesting thing when you're watching a film, listening to music, or whatever, because you
Yeah.
can feel all of that. I'll leave it there on that
Okay.
nice note. Thank you so much for
Thank
having this
you.
amazing conversation with me. I always love talking to you. So
Me too. Thank you.